Sorry. I just still have somebody miss 5. Okay, so that I'm not going to go over. I did have a neighbor to call me and say, I need you to come up here. Okay, I went up the road and this calculator won't work. Every time I raise 100 to the 0 power, it gives me 1. So what do you tell your neighbor? How do you handle that when your neighbor is not too bright with the calculator?
I hope you Googled it.
No. That is product rules, so that would be 2 to the 8th power. I'm not going to, some of these things I'm not going to spend any time on. Find the product. I will stop here and go over some stuff. Because, not that you don't know how to do that, that's not what I'm saying. But there are some areas that you need to be aware of for trig, and we're going to go over that, especially with the eyes and the polar coordinates, which we're going to go over, I think, in Unit 3. You can check your outline. But we're going to go over, I want to go over that. And this is multiplying polynomials. This is just a review. Multiplying polynomials. There are several ways to multiply polynomials. Number 1, the granddaddy is the what? Distributive law. Why is it the granddaddy? Because you can use it any time. Of course, you got your FOIL method. Pronounce it however you'd like. FOIL method, first, outer, inner, last. And then you got your shortcuts. I'm going to go over some of each just to knock the cobwebs loose. All right. Now, as a reminder to me, how many in here had Math 110 last semester in the Anderson campus? How many? Okay. Pendleton campus. I need somebody to speak from the middle of the room so that the camera will turn, please. Say your ABCs. You know, sobriety test. Middle of the room. I need you. Okay, that's good enough. I ain't going to get much more out of them. All right. How many of you at the Pendleton campus had Math 110 last semester?
I did.
Okay, 2.
That's it.
Easily. How many of you had Math 110 last semester? And Miss Crittenden, did you have Math 110 last semester? Okay, yeah. So pretty much, how many had Math 110 in the spring? Which was right before the summer. Anybody here? So we're talking refresher, okay? Because I don't see anybody that's had Math 110 in the last couple of semesters. So distributive law. Distributive law, 2x multiplied by x squared plus 3x minus 2. All right, do that right quick. What do you need to remember? You need to remember your exponential laws. What do you do to exponents when you're multiplying? You add them. Now, if you need to remember, this is to the first power. Did you say something? I'm sorry. What? So the first one's going to be 2 times 1. 2 to the x third plus 6x what? Squared minus 4x. And everybody feels good about themselves, so they don't have to put smokestacks on their pickup truck. All right? You feel confident, right? So that's the distributive law. Distributive law can be used with any polynomial. You can multiply binomial times a trinomial, trinomial times a 4-term polynomial, 5-term polynomial times a 6-term polynomial. Distributive law is not what? It's not restricted. Distributive law can be used anytime. First is the FOIL method. When can you use the FOIL method? When you're multiplying 2 what? two binomials. X plus 3 times 2x minus 4. Go to it. You'll have to. I was supposed to use the break to eat, but didn't.
That's all right. Y'all gotta eat.
Any good movies this weekend?
Oh, they're making that Predator movie though.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw the previews when I went to see the Meg.
I can't wait for that.
Yeah, I'm a Predator fan. I think they ought to have a movie with Jason, Michael Myers, the Predator, and the Terminator. And they all ought to fight each other. Who would win? I think the Predator is kind of hard to beat. I tell you, he's pretty tough.
Especially the new one that's coming out.
Yeah, because he has the from the Predators, the other species.
Mm-hmm.
There's two of them. Those other ones are pretty rough.
Yeah,
I don't get into aliens, so any of y'all that get into aliens sucks. I hate alien movies.
What if you like both?
Hmm?
What if you like both?
I don't like aliens. I don't like them. They're nasty. All right. I did see a movie on HBO or a miniseries, psychological thriller called Sharp Objects. Anybody see that? Okay, well, it's pretty good. I watched like 8 episodes in like one afternoon. All right. X times 2x is what? 2x squared. X times negative 4? Negative 4x. 6x.
Plus 6.
Minus 12. Now, remember, whenever you use the distributive law or the FOIL method, you will always do what after that? You always combine what?
Like terms.
Always combine like terms. We did it there. We didn't have to do it up here because we just used one term. But usually when you distribute or use the FOIL method, you always have to combine like terms afterwards. So 2x squared plus 2x minus 12. Now remember, there's 3 types of people in here. There's the person or the student that invented this, which you need to stay at home and create a cure for cancer. You don't need to be here. I don't want you here. Okay? There's the second type person that's going, oh yeah, I remember that. That's kind of elementary. But you keep your mouth shut. Good. Keep your mouth shut and you stay in class. And then there's the third person. The third person is saying what?
I don't know.
I haven't seen that in 2 or 3 semesters. I'm glad he's going over it. That's the person I'm teaching to. I could care less about the other 2, especially the first one. Okay? So make sure you designate whether you're one of those 3 people, so that way if you are the first one, you can stay your butt at home. Okay? Period. All right, so let's keep going. Now let's go to the shortcuts. The shortcuts are, number 1, A plus B, quantity squared, is equal to A squared plus 2AB plus B squared. Number 2, A minus B, quantity squared, is equal to A squared minus 2AB plus B squared. 3, A squared minus B squared is equal to A plus B times A minus B. 4, A cubed plus B cubed is equal to A plus B, A plus B times A squared minus AB plus B squared. And shortcut number 5, A cubed minus B cubed is equal to A minus B times a squared plus ab plus b squared. Those are your shortcuts for multiplying as well as factoring. We'll do two of it. We'll do one of a couple. We'll do a couple of them just to refresh your memory. And of course, I don't need to go over those for the people that invented them. We actually have some people that believe they wrote the book on algebra. So, y'all do this one. X squared minus 64. Now, when you look at this problem, and I'm just going over just like I do in algebra, you look at the problem, which one is it not? There's two that you know it's not from the get-go. 4 and 5. Why? Because x squared is x squared. It's not cubed. So 4 and 5 are out. So which ones you pick from now? 1, 2, and 3. Which one on the left-hand side does not have parentheses? 3. So you've come down to your answer of shortcut number 3. A squared minus b squared is equal to a plus b times a minus b. Well, this is not going to do you any good because you need a and what? B. So you take the square root of all that. And you get a is equal to what? X, and b is equal to what? And then you plug in what? Plug and chug. X plus a, x minus a. All right, now try this one. X cubed minus 125. All right, try that one. All right, you know from the get-go that it's shortcut number 4 or 5 because it's cubes. Where's that noise coming from? Okay.
Somebody's walked by.
Oh, okay. All right, so which one is it? Shortcut number 5 equals a minus b times a squared plus ab plus b squared. Take the cube root of everything. A is equal to x. B is equal to 5. X minus 5 times x squared plus 5x plus 25. And yes, you should be fluent in those shortcuts. Now, a lot of people say, oh God, I can't believe he's wearing it. If you're intrigued, then that means you're going to calculus. If you're going to calculus, then there's a very good possibility that you're going to be doing Calc 1, 2, 3, and DiffyQ, and thermodynamics as well as statics and dynamics. Are you going to see these again? Yes, yes, and yes. You are not going to get away from these. Okay? You're not going to get away from rationalizing the denominator. you're not going to get away from any of those things that you were pressed in Algebra 2 and Math 102 and Math 110. You're not going to get away from it. Okay? If a degree was easy, everybody'd have one. If math was easy, everybody'd have a degree. Always remember that. All right. So let's move on to some more. Now that we went over that, let's go over and look at the problem at hand. So we're using the distributive law or the FOIL, depending on what you really want to use. 7C minus 5 times 8C plus 7. First is 56C to the what? Second. Plus 49C minus 40C plus or minus what? 35? 8 is not my favorite number. So whenever I'm multiplying, adding, subtracting 8, please check behind me because that is my number that I do not like. Everybody has a number you don't like. Everybody. Okay? No, really, but I like all of them. Shut up. All right? There's always one person that has a number that they do not like to add, subtract, multiply, or divide. There's always somebody that don't like the word moist. There's always somebody that don't like the word whatever, okay? There are numbers that you don't like. 8 is one of them. All right, for me. So, sometimes don't be surprised if I throw a 58 up there thinking 6 times 8 instead of, that's what I'm saying. Sometimes I get kind of crazy with the 8s. All right, 56C squared. You have $49, you owe 40, you have $9 minus 35. So if you got that correct, then you feel good about yourself. If you didn't get it correct, then you need to do some more problems. And down here, there's usually a similar problem down here. When you type in the answer, you usually get similar problem. And if you got it wrong, then that's saying it's broke, you need to fix it. So 56, C, shift, caret, second power, move over to the right, plus 9C, minus 35, and you feel good about yourself.
No, that's when you feel good. You got that.
Now, if you get it wrong, then you go down here and hit similar question. After you get it wrong 3 times, hit similar question, and it'll give you another question. Okay? Wouldn't you love to write these things for the company? I'd get fired the first week. That wasn't that hard. You're not that good. You should quit school. McDonald's is hiring. Wouldn't you love to write those things? I would. I'd get fired, but you think you're something, don't you? You're nothing. All right, next question. There's shortcut number what? Number 1, not number there's no It's shortcut number 1. Do shortcut number 1. And shortcut number 1 is going to be 25x squared plus 80xy plus 64y squared. Because I do that not to try to impress you. I do it because there's always some butthead in the class that goes, well, I'll just do the FOIL method and I'll just do it that way. You won't do it as fast as you do it in your head. And by now, in Math 111, you should have said 25x squared plus 80xy plus 64y squared. You should have been, some of you should be doing that. That's about right. 8 times 5 is 40, 40 times 2 is 80, right? So that'd be 25x squared plus 80xy plus 64y squared. And I'm not typing all that in, so I'm just going to type in 3, and then y'all can see what the answer is. Shortcut number 1. then let's see if that's what the answer is. 25x squared plus 80xy plus 64y squared. See, similar question. If you suck at it, hit similar question, do another one. Simple as that. If you get it right, that means you know it. If you don't get it right, you hit similar question until you get them right. Everybody should make 100 on the homework, do they?
No.
Hell to the no. 36s, 24s, 58s. I'm talking about for the semester average. I'm not talking about for the first, I'm talking about for the semester, I have 22s, 38s, 57s. I just can't understand why I can't do math. You know why people can't do math? They're a little bit on the lazy side.
Get frustrated.
And the reason I tell you that is because I was that way. I tried every excuse in the world to try not to do math. Don't come to me. Okay? It doesn't, I'm not a math person. All that bull crap. But when your dad is 6'4" and about 300 pounds, you really don't have a choice but to keep taking math classes. Okay? Does everybody get my point? All right? Eventually, after a while, you start to figure out if you work at it, you what? You succeed. I know it's hard for some of you buttercups and snowflakes. If you don't work, you fail. Period. And I mean that, all students. When I say, not y'all, not just Pendleton, not just Oconee, all. If you work, you succeed. If you don't work, you get fired. All right, there's another one. What shortcut is that? It's number 2.
Oh, wait, yeah.
9r squared minus 18rt squared plus 9t to the 4th. So you should be able to do that in your head. Doesn't have to be real quick, but you should be able to do it. And if you're still using the FOIL method, you're going to be on number 6 while everybody else is finished with the test. So we'll do that one. Said the work word, W word. 3r minus 3t. I know what I'll do. I'll get a degree in underwater firefighting. Because there's no math in it. And then when I get $50,000 worth of debt, then I'll try to get me a job as an underwater firefighting instructor. What's the problem with the underwater firefighting instructor position? It's flooded or it's non-existent because what? Everybody's taking it. So then I don't get a job, and then I want free tuition. I want somebody to take care of my student loans. Because why? Because I was lazy and took underwater firefighting as a degree instead of math, science, or English, or history, or psychology, or Spanish, or engineering, or computer science, or computer engineering, or construction science. Everybody see what I'm getting at? There's an old saying, you get what you what? You pay for. You get what you pay for. If you pick underwater firefighting as a major, then don't cry when you can't get a job. Simple, simple, simple. A squared minus 2ab plus b squared. What's A? A is equal to 3r. What's B? B is equal to 3t squared. So that's going to be parentheses squared minus 2 times parentheses plus parentheses squared. And this is what I do in my head. Whenever I do one of these problems and I do it in my head, I put those parentheses in my head. And I have 3 degrees and I still put parentheses in my head. But some of y'all Don't need it. And you cry when you get the answer wrong. 3R, 3R, 3T squared, sorry, and 3T squared. 9R squared minus 6 times 3 is 18. I think that's what I said. Y'all have to remind me.
Yeah.
RT squared, and then 9T to the 4th. What's the most common mistake students make on this problem? Anybody know?
Getting the plus and minus switched.
No, but that's a good answer, but that's not it. But that's number one, but not number two. Number one is this one. Why does that position get wrong? Or why is that the most, that's terrible sounding. Why does that position where the 9 is, why is that the most missed position?
Is it because they think they need to do it again?
Because they say 3T to the 4th.
Yeah.
That's the number one mistake students make. 3T to the 4th. They forget that that whole thing is squared. Not just the T squared, but the 3. And instead of putting a 9, which is correct, they put a 3. That's why the parentheses are so important. Whether you do these on paper or you do them in your head, they're important. If you walk into my class, let's say you have a son that's 15 years old. This is 5 years down the road, whatever, I don't care. You got a son in the future, okay? And you come to me and say, Hubert, I can't do this problem. Will you show my son how to do this problem? I will use these parentheses. Now we're talking down the road 20 years, and I'll still use those. Okay? Yeah. What am I trying to tell you? I've got 3 degrees, and I'm still using those parentheses. How many degrees do y'all have?
0.
And y'all don't want to use them. And I mean y'all, I don't mean y'all in here, I don't mean y'all up there. I mean students don't want to use them because they don't what? They don't need them. Why am I saying, well, Hubert, I get them right. I know that. But what is going in these parentheses in the future? Is it going to be 3R? Or is it going to be 3 derivative? Or is it going to be 3 antiderivative? Or is it going to be sine, tangent, 1/2 cosine of 3x? You're going to get more complicated as you go along. You better learn to use these parentheses, because what's going to happen is you're going to take 2 cosine of x, and you're not going to put that parenthesis there, and you're going to come out with 2 cosine squared of x, and you're going to get it wrong because you didn't include the 4. Okay? Put the parentheses, okay? Put away the ego and the pride and put the parentheses down, because you don't want to miss a question on a test because you left the parentheses on. Okay? And that's your answer. I'm not going to go through and type all that in because I'm lazy. I've already done that. I don't want to do it, so we're just going to type in 3, and y'all can check just to make sure I ain't crazy. Okay? You are a loser. You got it wrong. McDonald's is hiring. Quit school. I think that would be so fun, even though you would get fired. All right, 9R squared minus 18RT, that's what we got, plus 9T to the 4th. So at least I know what I'm talking about. Next question. That's another shortcut number 2. We're not going over the same thing twice. That's reverse. That is FOIL. Shortcut number 1. Okay, try that one.
Okay.
I would suggest quit. Do you know why? It's too much to read. That's too much. Just skip it. Now, read the directions, because the directions are telling you what to do. Factor out a common term. That's what it's saying. Factor out a common term. What is in common with those 2 terms?
R plus 7.
Good. So you yank it out, kind of like the tablecloth under the vase. You yank it out real quick, you get r plus 7, parentheses, takes that out and takes that out, and then brackets. And what's left when you jerk that tablecloth out? 7r minus 5. What? Minus 4r minus what? Okay, now what? Well, chances are they're going to want you to clean up that middle, that what's in the brackets. So we've got a positive 1 right here, and we've got a negative 1 right there. So we're going to use the old distributive law. And that's going to give us r plus 7, 7r minus 5 minus 4r plus what? Plus 1. Hubert, 1 times 1 is not 4. And whenever you use the distributive law, you always do what next? Combine what? Combine like terms, Hubert. Thank you, class. 7r minus 4r is 3r. Negative 5 plus 1 is negative 4. Now, I would say by the directions that would be the answer. Why? Because the directions do not say factor out a common term, combine like terms, and then distribute. It doesn't say that. It says factor out the greatest common term. Now, could this be the answer? Yes, this could be the answer also. So we'll just see what the answer says. It says simplify your answer. Now, to simplify means to redistribute? No. Usually when you're distributing or factoring out, you're not going to distribute back in. But there are some non-teachers that write the answers for these things. So you may get a crazy answer. We'll type in 3.
Magic number 3.
Yeah, well, actually 4. Everything in calculus comes out to be 4. Final check. What did they get? R plus 7, 3r minus 4. So they did get the bottom answer. So you need to highlight the bottom answer. Now again, 90% of you are probably saying to yourself, golly, this is boring, I've learned this back in da-da-da. But there's also 10% that are not saying that, and that's who I'm teaching to. Okay? Try that one. That's like dang old standardized test question right there. That's that's exactly a standardized test question. You see that on any placement test or employment test. What are you supposed to do? Well, it's 4 terms, so you got to group 3 by 1 or 2 by 2. And what tells you to do it? Well, there's no squares. Do you see any squares? So you're going to do 2 by 2. Usually when you see a bunch of squares, a bunch of variables squared, like s squared or st squared, that's when you do 3 by 1. But since there's been a lot of squares, we're going to do a 2 by 2. So group the first 2 and the what? It's the last 2. You may have to factor out a negative to get it to match, but the whole point is you got to use a 2 by 2. And hopefully the algebra teacher teaches you the difference between a 2 by 2 and a 3 by 1. I'll give you an example of both so you'll get your money's worth and so you won't complain too much. X squared plus 4 x squared plus xy. I got to do it in my head. Just bear with me. X squared plus xy plus y squared plus 6 minus 16. How many terms does that have in it? 4. Does it have a lot of squares? Yes. So you do a 3 by what? 3 by 1. And that's shortcut number what? Well, sorry. Yeah, shortcut number 1. And that's going to be x plus y, quantity squared, minus what? 16. And now you have shortcut number 2, which would be x plus y plus 4. And x plus y what? Minus 4. So that's a 3 by 1. So you might want to write that 3 by 1 down, just in case. That's always the case, and you're going to see a lot of those in Calc 1. Another thing, if you had college algebra or anything comparable to college algebra, make sure you keep that notebook and keep this notebook, especially this front part right here, because your first unit test in Calc 1 is everything we're going over right now, and limits. Everything we're going over right now and everything that you went over in college algebra, make sure you keep that notebook because that's what you're going to be going over your first unit test in Calc 1. Because people that fail calculus, do you know why they fail calculus? Not because of calculus, because 20% of the problems in calculus are calculus. I mean, any problem you do in calculus, 20% of it's calculus. What's 80% of it? Algebra. No, not trig. It's algebra. 80% of everything you do in Calc 1 is algebra. So if you suck at algebra, you're going to suck at calculus. All right, so that's 3 by 1. 2 by 2. 12 ST plus 3T minus 16S minus 4. Group the first two. Oops, sorry. Hold on. Group the first two and the last two. What's in common with the first two?
3T.
3 what?
T.
3T. And that leaves you with what?
4S. And
Plus what?
1 T.
What's in common with negative 16S minus 4?
Negative 4.
And what does that leave?
4S plus 1.
Is that supposed to match?
Aye.
Are these two supposed to match?
Aye.
Yes. If they don't match, one of two things is happening. What's one of two things?
Got it wrong.
One is you didn't do it right. The second is the problem is designed to be prime. What is prime? You can't factor it only itself in 1. Okay, so, and I will tell you this, the latter is usually not the answer. So if you set up one of these 2 by 2s and you don't get the same secondary term, chances are you've what? Screwed up. And your final answer is 3T minus 4 parentheses 4S plus 1. Now the reason it's not 4S plus 1 squared is you're not multiplying. You're what? You're subtracting. So if you think that 2x minus 4x is negative 2x squared, then we have a problem with your basic algebra. Okay? The only time you do the 4s squared is if this is multiplication. Like that. Then it would be 12t times 4s plus 1 quantity squared. Or whatever the case may be. Okay?
All right.
Now, just is some of this knocking some cobwebs loose? I'm excluding the people that created the space shuttle, okay? If you created the space shuttle and you're sitting in Tri-County Tech college out trig class, okay, you just be quiet, all right? Those of you that have had classes before and is it knocking some cobwebs loose? Okay, this means yes, this means no. Okay, I see 1, 2 people at Pendleton. Nobody at the Easley campus is responding.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I heard a yes. Okay, Oconee, there's one person. Yes?
We're good.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. Anderson, what about y'all?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on. Let's check this answer to see if I know what I'm doing. Let's see if I know what I'm doing. Well, first I got to get the cursor back up. If anybody wants to be a millionaire, all you got to do is figure out a way that you can link that cursor to my brain without using the mouse, and you'll be a millionaire.
Oh, yeah.
Just put on we need a tinfoil hat is what we need. Tinfoil hat. You ever seen Mel Gibson in Signals? Is it Signals? You ever seen that movie?
No.
Oh yeah, y'all don't watch movies. Yeah, I asked somebody the other day if they ever seen Animal House, and they went, huh? You ain't seen Animal House, something's wrong with you. All right, no comment. You don't need to say anything. If you ain't seen Animal House, Vacation, Caddyshack, I mean, if you ain't seen some of those, your parents, it's their fault.
They messed up.
Huh?
Said they messed up.
Yeah, they've messed up. You ain't seen Rocky?
Oh, yeah, I've seen
I mean,
That's not
it amazes me. I mean, you ain't seen Tin Cup? Oh my gosh, that's a classic. Tin Cup is one of the greats. All right, look what we got. 3t minus 4 times 4s plus 1. Look there, we got it right. We must know what we're doing. Let's go to the next one. And hopefully y'all getting all these right too. I hope you are. Oh my gosh, reverse FOIL. Might as well quit.
for real.
I don't want to do this. It's too complicated.
Yeah, wrote it wrong.
Well, the number one rule of factoring is always factor out a what? Do not pronounce it. You spell it out. Please do not pronounce it. I tried to change it one year and it didn't work. Please do not pronounce it. I tried to change it, but I changed it to this, and it was even worse. So do not pronounce it. Just say factor out a common term. All right? Factor out a common term. So what's in common with those numbers?
3.
3. A squared plus 2a minus what? Minus 12. Now, how do I know it's not a shortcut? How do I know that a squared plus 2a minus 12, 8. How do I know it's not a shortcut? Because 8 is not a perfect what?
Square.
Well, a squared is. Yeah, but you have to have both. You have to have the first and the last term perfect square. So it's not a shortcut. So you have to go back to the reverse FOIL, which all of you hate with a passion. So break up two parentheses. First a, and then you go over here and you say, okay, 1 times 8 and 2 times 4. 1 times 8 will give you a 7 or a 9. And 2 plus 4 will give you a 6 or a 2. What do we need? Hey, 2. We need a 2 and a 4. So we put a 2 there and a 4 there. This says the biggest term, biggest, has to be positive. Biggest has to be positive. So what's bigger? You got to remember, outside and what? Inside. What's bigger, 4A or 2A? So that's positive. This says unlike. So if this is positive, this has got to be negative, and you're done. And that's how you do the reverse FOIL method. You don't do a bunch of triangles. You don't do a bunch of see-through squares, see-through triangles. Some of this other crap that they show you, you just do it like that. Yeah, that's called a learning aid. And has anybody seen a teacher pull out the little transparent squares and rectangles? Anybody seen that? Well, hopefully they quit doing it because it was stupid. Okay? Visual aids is what they call it. I'm sorry. Visual aids. Pendleton, you're too loud. Please settle down.
See a smile.
Oh, they actually smiled?
You have to actually say that sometimes.
3 times a minus, well, easily is really knocking the door down. They're really. Hey, I saw a smile. I saw one. Hurry up, cover it up. All right, 3 times A minus 2 times A plus 4. You know, I could go into Dr. Gobati mode if y'all want me to. Y'all want me to go into Dr. Gobati mode? He would talk, if your class lasted for an hour and a half, he would talk about math for an hour and 35 minutes.
Please don't.
We can do that. Y'all want to do that?
Don't, because I can't understand.
They don't care either way. They don't care. I understand. Y'all been programmed not to talk in class. I understand. All right. Is that a shortcut or is that a reverse FOIL?
A reverse shortcut.
Well, 9 times 8 is what?
72.
9 times 8 is 72. 72 times 2 is what? 144. So that is shortcut number what? Shortcut number 2. Anybody that didn't say shortcut number 2, you suck. Next problem. How about that one? Shortcut number what? Number 3, you suck.
Thank you.
Factor the following difference of squares. Shortcut number what? Number 3. How about that one? Quit. Shortcut number 3. How do you know? Well, there's no other way to do that one because you've got 2 terms and you take the square root of a to the 4th. You can't take the cube root of a to the 4th. So all you have to do now is punch in 1296 and take the square root of it and see what you come up with. Be 24? I don't know. What is it?
It's a number.
Oh, it's a number? Wow. What a concept.
Wow.
It gets me through.
What's 1296 square root?
36.
So it's going to be a squared plus 36. Let's do this one because some of y'all will stop. So, because this is a nested problem. Somebody tell me what a nested problem is. Anybody know what a nested problem is? Come on, I know somebody. Who invented the space shuttle? Anybody?
It's more than one part.
More than one part. Good job. You got that right. It's a problem within a what?
Problem.
It's a problem within a problem. That's why it's called nested. Nested, like a dang old bird. Like a dang old bird and eggs. Nested. Nested. All right, take the nested problem. A to the 4th minus 1296. I've never had a class this quiet. Never. Take the square root of both sides. That's all right. It'll just make the class 3 times as long. So if it feels like an hour and a half, it's going to take 3 hours. So we'll just do the 3-hour thing. A squared plus 36. A squared minus 36. And that is shortcut number 3. Now what? Are we finished? No, because this right here is shortcut number 3 again. So your answer is a squared plus 36 times a plus 6 times what? A minus 6. So that's your final answer. So that is called a nested problem.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Question, right, complaint. So we'll go over here, and the key word here, and you need to highlight it, is right here. Take the dang old highlighter, and what does that say? Factor completely. When you see the words factor completely, chances are it's going to have more than one step in it. Okay? And we'll just type in, since y'all are getting ready for calculus, we'll type in 4. Because that's the answers you get. There's one guy, he's an engineer now with Floor Daniel, and he'll text me every now and then, or he'll Facebook me. I'll ask a question or do something on Facebook, and he'll send the question 4. Because I believe every problem we did in that calc class, every problem, we picked an example out of each section, and every one of them came out to be 4. And he wrote them down. He actually wrote how many times, and to this day, every time I ask a question now, I'll say, blah, 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 I'll be talking about, he'll say 4. And that's been like 15 years ago that we had that class. Everything 4, everything.
4.
So to this day, he still does that. Okay, I don't care. Are you sure you want to? Yes.
Heck yes.
Did it ever give us the answer? I guess it didn't.
No, it did not.
All right, factor by any method. Is it shortcut? Well, 5 times 4 is what? 20. 20 times 2 is what? 40. So that means it's shortcut number what? Shortcut number 1. How about that one?
Number 3.
Number 3. Good.
Yes.
Simplify by using the fundamental principle of fractions. So you can divide the top and the bottom by what? What would go into 56 and 63?
No. 8. It
Not
was
8.
7.
7, I think. So I'm going to divide by 7r to the third on the top and 7r third on the bottom. And that will basically simplify it. Write the rational expression in lowest terms. They want you to factor out. I think that's pretty simple. You're going to factor out a 3 and a 2, and you're going to basically cancel out the y's. The y terms, you're going to cancel them out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, find the product.
Oh, that one's fun.
Yep, that one, let's do this one. Because it's been a while since some of y'all have had complex rationals. So I'll write it for you for those that can't see it, because that is one problem we have with the Polycom, is that they can't see the small writing. So x squared plus x over 2 times 8 over x, y plus y. Now there's a real basic thing to do here. Factor what?
Everything.
Factor everything. Factor everything out and then cancel. Because it is multiplication, you can cancel vertically and you can cancel what? Diagonally. So what's in common with the first 2? X. That leaves you with x plus 1. 2. 2 times 4. And y gives you x plus what? Now when you do that, the x plus 1's cancel, the 2's cancel, and you're left with 4x over y. Now a lot of you say, well Hubert, that was very simple. But some of you had to actually what?
Think.
Yeah, some of you actually had to think and go back and find that filing cabinet, Math 110 filing cabinet, and find the file that had this on it before you started. You didn't just say, oh, all of those cancel. Very rarely do you pull up to a complex and go, oh yeah, sure, I did those last week. Not many people do complex rational expressions every day. So remember, factor everything and cancel. Now what if that was x squared plus x over 2 divided by xy plus y over 8? What do you do when you divide by fraction? Multiply by the reciprocal, so it's the same thing. Remember that. Write that down. Because even with a complex rational, you multiply by the reciprocal when you divide. Oh yeah. One of the most missed problems on a test right here. Why is this problem missed the most? Because people forget how to add fractions. What do you have to add fractions?
Common denominator.
Gotta have a common denominator. Two over 3t plus 9 over 5t. And the common denominator of 3t and 5t is 15t. So you put a 15t down here, and you put a 15t down here. How many times will 3t go into 15t? 5 times. 5 times 2 is 10. How many times will 5t go into 15t? 3 times. 3 times 9 is? 27. So your answer is 37 over 15t. Again, not many people do that every day. So don't feel bad if you've forgotten it. Question, gripe, complaint. I only got a few more to go, and I've done your homework for you. That one, what is I'm just going to tell you the common denominator. What's the common denominator of 4a, 7a, and a? Well, 4 and 7. I'll show you right quick to how to find the common denominator, because some of y'all may have forgotten, and some of you have never seen this before. 4 and 7. You always divide by 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, and sometimes 13. What are these numbers? Prime numbers. You always divide by the prime numbers, because sometimes you're not going to have something as simple as 4 and 7. You may have 101 and 115 or something like that. So 2 will not go, nothing will go into them, so you're going to have to use magic math. 2 will go into 4 2 times, 7 comes down. 2 will go into 2 1 time, 7 comes down. 7 go in, that'll come down. 7 will go 1 time. When you get 2 1s on the bottom, you've got your common denominator, which is 4 times 7, which is what? 28. So you put 28a, 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 plus 4a will go into 28a, 7 times 5 is 35. 7a will go 4 times 6 is 24. A will go in 28 times. 28 times 7 is going to be 182. Somebody check me.
28 times 7, 196.
196, okay. I suck. 196.
Job at McDonald's.
Hey, I'm going to go put in for one. I can make a career. If they would just raise the wages to $15 an hour, I could make a career out of it. All right, 196. Bad, Hubert. Shut up, Hubert. 196 plus 24. Well, 4 plus 196, 2, so that'd be 220. 220 plus 35 is 255. So that'd be 255 over 28a. Somebody check me. Sure. So that's your answer. I hope I'm helping some of y'all.
Yeah, you're right.
Invent the space shuttle. Y'all know I had an ex-mother-in-law that invented the space shuttle and the computer.
That's why she's the next mother-in-law.
Exactly. Oh, she actually said she helped build the first computer.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I just
People like that, I just can't deal with them. Oh yeah, this one gets everybody. Just skip it. What do you do when you want to make a exponent? This is your inverse power rule. If you want to make a exponent positive, what do you do?
flip the fraction.
Good job. I'm impressed. Not many people remember that one. -2, flip it, 7 over 1 raised to the second power is equal to 49. Now, I guarantee you somebody forgot that. You don't have to raise your hand. You don't have to say anything. But I guarantee you somebody forgot that. Next. Write as a rational exponent. Okay, I see a lot of people just sitting there. That means you know it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the answer? Always remember this. Always. This is how you remember this forever. You don't have to remember, all you got to remember is the square root of x to the first power is equal to x to the 1/2. Exponent over what? Over index. Exponent over index. It's always exponent over index. And always remember the square root of x is equal to x to the 1/2. The square root is the index. The 2, that's the index. So all you got to remember is this right here. And that will always tell you how to do this problem. So, that'll be n to the what? 4/5. Piece of cake. $27. Now, what does the direction say? Watch the directions on these because it tells you what to do. Simplify the expression. Assume all variables represent positive real numbers. So somebody tell me what I need to do. I heard group, like I am group. Is that what you said? Enunciate and volume. I heard no group. Y'all ought to listen to some of my voicemails in my office. Some of them I keep. You know why I keep them?
For a good laugh.
It's funny.
Yeah.
3 over 7x and
Would
1/2.
I'm going to multiply by 7x on the top and the bottom. Somebody tell me why I'm going to multiply by 7x over 7x. Because I don't want what in the denominator? I don't want a radical in the denominator. So I'm going to basically rationalize, and I'm going to multiply by 7x over 7x. And that's going to give me the square root of 21x over the square over 49x what? And that's going to give me the square root of 21x over, what's the square root of 49x squared? 7x. And that's pretty much going to be the answer. Now, what if I gave you 3 over, what if I gave you the cube root of 3 over 2x? Somebody tell me how I would start this problem.
When you times 2x to the 3.
I'm sorry, what?
Would you times the 2x, the denominator, to the 3? Or no?
Okay, you're getting there, but that's not entirely correct, but you're thinking right.
You would multiply by 2x squared because you
Keep going, keep not 2x squared.
You would multiply by,
The x squared is correct.
but you would both multiply by,
Did y'all hear that, Pendleton Oconee? He said x squared, and I said the x squared is correct. He said 2x squared, but that's not correct, huh?
4x.
4x squared. Why would I multiply by 4x squared?
because you need to cube the 2.
Because I got to make a perfect what? A perfect what? I got to make a perfect cube. And the first perfect cube is 8. So now that gives me 12. I don't care. Could I care less about the numerator? I don't care about the numerator because I can have a radical in the numerator, but you don't want a radical in the denominator. So that's what they're trying to tell you to do, is rationalize the denominator. So that's going to give us 8 cube root of 8x cubed, and that's going to give us, I'm just going to write a squiggle line up here because I really don't care about the numerator. But what does it do to the denominator? What's the cube root of 8?
2.
And what's the cube root of x cubed?
2. That's it.
So you got all of this in the numerator over 2x. So what you're trying to do in this problem, and write it out to the side, is you're rationalizing the denominator or getting rid of radical in denominator. Is basically what you're doing. That is going to be hammered in Calc 1, Unit 1. Rationalizing the denominator. I'll show you another one. And just for you, because there might be a chance I might be teaching Math 140, might be teaching Polycom, might be teaching the next semester for y'all. I don't know. It all depends on if they offer it or not. Here we go. About 2x over I plus 4. Well, what is I? I is a radical, right? Square root of -1, right? So you got a radical in the denominator. So we use the conjugate. What's the conjugate of I plus 4? Oh my gosh, I'm fainting here. I minus 4, and that's the conjugate. And then that's going to get rid of, you got shortcut number what on the bottom? Shortcut number 3. So that's going to give you I squared, which is -1, minus 4. -1 minus 4 is -5. So on the bottom, you're going to have -5. So you're going to be hammered about that, rationalizing the denominator. At least a whole homework section on rationalizing the denominator in Calc 1, Unit 1. So you might want to make sure you know how to do that. 28, and I think time's up, right? What time's class over? I think it's 12:35, isn't it? All right, I'm going to call it a day. All right, now y'all should be working on the review homework. And what should y'all be sending in? Questions. Now, what if I don't get any questions Thursday?